Hey guys, it's Taylor Drake here. For those who know me, you can just call me Tay. And for those who don't know me, you can call me Tay as well. I'm actually here today to present my world premiere of my solo podcast as of right now, called B.A.L.L. I'm 29 years old. I love the game of basketball, and I love the direction that it's going. But the one thing that I can say that has not been exciting for me watching basketball is the women's aspect of the game and how it is portrayed. From the fan standpoint, they just don't understand, I guess, what it takes to be a female athlete today. It is actually very, very hard to be a female athlete. And we'll get into those as, time goes on as to how hard it is and why it's so hard for female athletes to get the recognition they deserve, to, get the spotlight that they deserve and the scholarships. We'll get into all of that. But today for the premiere, I'm just going to stick to who we are and why I decided to do this podcast. And just go over with it. It's not just women's basketball that I'll cover as well. I'll also go over the NBA as well because I love basketball, period. So I'm going to always stay on top of the stats, the standings, playoffs, all of that. The WNBA is actually winding down a little bit, but I will kind of catch up on that as well. But a little bit about who I am. So, like I said, I'm 29. I played basketball as a shooting guard. Once a shooter, always a shooter. And I can bet money on that from anybody. We'll take those, but we'll table that for a later conversation. Uh, but I played basketball from, I think, 9 years old, all the way up into high school, actually. Did a little bit in college, not too much. But the reason why I didn't continue on my path for women's basketball is because of the pay gap. Coming to an adult and having to live in this day's climate as a female athlete is very hard when you don't get paid enough for your craft. As we've seen right now with the Brittany Griner situation, she's had to go um, overseas and for another opportunity. And that honestly, it's a lot going on there. We won't get into that on this episode, but that's one of the reasons why I personally did not continue on my basketball career. Now, with that being said, that is another motivational factor for why I wanted to do this podcast, because we really need to highlight what women go through to be successful athletes here, and also see why they just why it falls out and why they just fall out of sports later in life. And I can bet you a lot of women will also tell you that it's because of the pay gap. And this podcast here is to create a conversation for us to kind of understand why that happens, and what we can do to make it better. I'm only one woman, so I know that I probably won't fix that pay gap on my own. But this is to start a conversation, even with the males that represent women's basketball, to see what is it that we can do to all help. How do we fill the seats of those WNBA games to where we can raise their pay? Because that is a major factor. We need people watching, we need people talking, and honestly, we need the fans to step up, and we need the men to step up to help us. It's not just women, because of course we can't do it alone. But that's another thing. That's why I also adapted this, because I go to a really popular sports app called Bleacher Report, and I look through the comments that are there regarding women's sports. Now, again, I know that some of these kids are young, some of the guys are young, but also some of it is just pure hatred. And I want to understand why that is, but I also want to say, hey, forget that. Let's worry about the positive part about it and what we can do to grow it, because that's where it's going to come from. We're going to be positive about this, bring in positive people that have been around the game for so long and that actually help some of these young ladies get their career in the right places when it comes to physicalness, when it comes to their workouts, when it comes to their routines and regimens that they stick to. We'll go more into that and try to get inside and see what it really takes to be a female athlete. So a little bit about B.A.L.L, and that is why. Everything that I just went over is B.A.L.L. that is bringing awareness to the ladies' leagues. I feel that we are grossly misrepresented by everybody. Now, some people, not really, but we don't have as much coverage as we should in order for us to succeed. And when I say us as women because I fall under that same bridge. But that's just one part of it. Us is everybody. We need everybody to be engaged and active so that way we can bridge this gap that we have in the pay so that way people can honestly do what they love because basketball is something that you love. It's not just a sport that you play. This game is not just a game to those who love the sport of basketball. This is a way of life. So when I say we ball because we go out there and play basketball, but we want that to be something that we can do for the rest of our lives or for our athletic lives. I would say that there are many people that can go out and turn their love into their job. And that's what a lot of young females don't get the opportunity to do. And so that's why I've created this content so that way we can talk about it and see the ways that we can go in and fix it. Now, it won't just be me all the time we're here talking because it's just myself. That gets a little boring, right? And that's okay. But I also will have interviews from coaches from around the DFW area. I'll even reach out to everybody that I can to kind of have this conversation with so that way we can open up everything that we need to and all the options so that way we can explore the possibilities. Even if we don't get that far in season 1, I want to make sure that the conversation is started and so that everybody can get in on it. And you can too with leaving your comments on this video here, following us on all your social media accounts and everything. And why I do this, like again, I said, I love the game of basketball. It's something that's in my blood. Shooting is in my blood, not, guns, but the rock. Let's say that. That's something that's near and dear to my heart. And it's never going to go away. So this is the only way that I know that I can make an impact somewhere. And so I wanted to do this. A little backstory. It took me 2 years. And I was not being obedient to the will of God. I can tell you that right now. I've always wondered, hey, what's going on in my life? Why is my life the same as it is? And I can tell you that's because, one, the decisions that I made to stay right here and continue in the circle that I call my life. And two, because I was being disobedient to what he told me to do. I was actually at work. I worked for a property management company. And I'm sitting at my desk and I just said, hey, I want to do this podcast. I want to do this podcast about basketball. So I wrote up about 7 episodes, entire episodes, and I closed my book. And from that day, I never opened it again for another 2 years, mind you. So one day I'm driving down the road and my mother sends me a text and she says, hey, why are you not talking about this? It was about the Brittany Griner situation. So myself, I'm like, yeah, I don't really know why. Honestly, it was because of the fear of the feedback that I would get from this platform. Social media is a cruel place when you have an opinion that others don't agree with, but that's okay. I believe that I was 100% sent here on a mission to do this right here, to speak about women's basketball. So I will cover high school, we'll cover college women's basketball, we'll even do men's because I'm not biased on any sport. I love basketball, period. So we'll do both. And also the NBA and WNBA. So that's the majority of the content. I ain't even gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna slip into NFL because I do not know enough about it. So I will not slip into the NFL. I'll just happily watch and just sit back on that one. But all in all, this is just to start a conversation and to get everything out there and to talk to men that work with young girls, talk to the young girls themselves, because we do have a fantastic list of young ladies that's here in Texas that have made that ESPN Top 100s list. So my next episode, I'll actually have Coach Keith Russell on. He is a well-known trainer in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Man, we'll get into that. He is a great guy. We'll have him on our second episode. This right here was just the premiere to kind of give you the overall of what's going to be happening here. Because, of course, everyone never sees me in front of the camera, so I'm pretty sure that